On this episode of Reliterated, we take a walk down Fear Street in the story of an ignorant man-child named Bobby, who can't be discussed without a content warning for the topics of sexual assault, fat shaming, and lame cool guy quipping he comes with. Watch as Bobby trains for a gold medal in womanizing as he tries to manage simultaneously dating identical twins, only to find things mysteriously blowing up in his face because girls are crazy, man. It's not every author that can make the main character both the protagonist and the antagonist, but watch our boy R.L. Stine flex those developing toxic masculine muscles of teenage culture in Fear Street, Double Date, on Reliterated, the podcast that also likes to strut around a room chanting how cool it is. Welcome to Reliterated, the lowbrow book club of grown-ass adults discussing the books read by children in the 1990s, but with 2020's hindsight. Fair warning, we use language too mature for kids, analysis too immature for literary scholars, and ignorance too profound to be inoffensive to everyone. We also don't hold back on spoilers, so if you haven't read today's book and don't want to be spoiled, read it before listening. You've been warned. I'm Andy.
I'm Harold.
And I'm Josh.
And we have got a new one from the, well, it's not a new one, but a new episode from our favorite horror author of the 90s.
Relinquished Licenses Stein.
Relinquished Licenses Stein.
Random Ladder.
I never come up with one.
Well, there you go. Jump right in. It's fun.
Yeah. Oh, wait, no. Roving Ladder. That was my one that I came up with earlier.
Roving ladder. That would be inconvenient.
That's a dangerous ladder.
Very much so.
I know you had one, Andy. What was it?
I'll save it for next time.
Okay.
I mean, not that it was like super special or anything, but you know, we've had our fun. Let's start the show. This is not a Goosebumps episode, though. We're doing a book from the Fear Street series, from our friend Mr. Stein, and based on the premise, we went with Double Date. I think it's number 23 in the series, although they don't really put the numbers. The series numbers, which book it is in the series on the cover, because they generally all stand alone. I know they all like take place in the same kind of timeline, universe, whatever.
It's a street and some woods and stuff.
It's a street and woods.
Like Fear Street is actually a street that people live on.
For instance, two of the characters of this story live on Fear Street.
Yep.
Yeah, but all the Fear Street books take place in the fictional town of Shadyside. And it's a little bit like Wayside School, Sideways Stories and Wayside School, in that they're all kind of stories that happen in this area. And sometimes there's character overlap between the stories, but they don't, like, the stories don't really feed into each other too much, as I understand it.
There's like a few, like, 3-story arcs that he'll do. But yeah, it's this one was definitely a standalone. He had just finished up a little series in Fear Street, a little trilogy, and so this was like to refreshen. So it's a good thing that we picked this book, because if we would have did one of the middle ones, like, I think
been confusing.
Yeah, it probably would have been like, what? Because
we didn't want to come into the middle of anything.
Already a little bit confusing. So,
you know, I could see them using character names, like maybe somebody noticing Bobby, the protagonist of this story, or maybe that Ronnie or some of the other cheerleaders. I could see them using names to be able to fill like the community of people that stuff happens to.
For sure.
That makes sense.
Some of the summaries that I read, they actually just do the whole Fear Street series, and they're like, oh yeah, and this character from this book popped up here.
Right.
Some of the people that they run into at the party in the mill are characters from other stories that they just appear in this. So yeah, it is a big connected universe, and yeah, there are some arcs, but mainly standalone stories, as Andy said.
which is a lot different from the Goosebumps series in that none of them really bleed into each other, other than like the sequels of like the Haunted Mask 2 or 3 or whatever. If they don't have direct sequels, they're not like part of the same universe. They're not really connected in the Goosebumps series.
Yeah, I exactly.
But Fear Streets for a little bit of the older set, the young adults, high school kind of age stuff. You don't see too much of like the ghoulies, the monsters, and whatever. It's more psychological and like murder based and
true crime
stuff, and definitely more teenage themes because folks are hooking up.
Yep, folks are hooking up. Some guys are practicing the first steps of rape. It's interesting.
Yes, we have young, budding date rapists.
Yes.
We have our own Brock Turner here, so.
Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness!
But
before we get too much into the story, we have to hit on our favorite segment of the entire podcast, Steinwatch.
So, we have some bad news, I guess, would be the way to say it, and some good news. Which would you like to hear first, y'all?
I always like bad news first.
Well, this is from the New York Times, I believe, or New York Post. Goosebumps author R.L. Stine says publisher made woke edits behind his back. I read the story. The quote that we have from Stine is, "The stories aren't true. I've never changed a word in Goosebumps. Any changes were never shown to me." And then Scholastic said, when reissuing titles several years ago, Scholastic reviewed the text to keep the language current and avoid imagery that could negatively impact a young person's view of themselves, with a particular focus on mental health. So, I'm okay with them doing that.
Okay, so before we go into your reaction to it, let's talk about what actually happened. First of all.
Oh, yes.
In some of R.L. Stine's books, the publisher, Scholastic, has gone and edited some of the language, mostly in like descriptions of characters, where if they were described as, for instance, roly-poly or plump, they were now cheerful. And if like even ones like as innocuous as overweight, they're now merely huge. But it's definitely
huge better than overweight.
I don't know. That's a weird example.
One thing that they showed specifically was these people had originally had 6 chins, and now they are 6'6". So
they completely changed the character.
Yeah, in that case.
Mm-hmm. And a line about schoolgirls having crushes on their headmaster was cut. Boy who wolf whistled, now merely whistled loudly. Something dismissed as girl stuff is
wolf
now just
whistled?
not interesting.
He whistled loudly?
Yeah, it's weird, some of the changes that Scholastic made.
I think if even I was having a heart-to-heart conversation with somebody and I was like, maybe it's because you're overweight that you're having this problem. I'm not saying it'd be good for me to say that, but I'm saying that if I was having that conversation, would it be better if I was like, well, bro, you're fucking huge.
You've clearly chosen to be this way.
Yeah.
In your pursuit of happiness, you have included a lot of food in that.
And that's fine.
That choice. And yeah, you do you. And if you're happy with your body, then more power to you. Yeah. If you're not happy with your body, there are ways to change that.
But right now you're huge, and that's the woke way of saying it.
Apparently. So the crux of the matter is the publisher went in and sanitized some language without the author's knowledge or consent. And it's not like he's dead already, and it's like his estate giving the go-ahead. The publisher is making changes behind the author's back. That I don't really agree with. It's probably in their contractual rights that they're able to.
That's what I'm guessing. That. Yeah.
Do you think that Huckleberry Finn should be edited? No, I don't. Josh, do you think that Huckleberry Finn should be edited?
I mean, it already has been.
No.
Yeah. It has been. It's been edited all our lives. It's been.
I'm talking down to the point where you remove, but the point where you remove language like that.
And that's a bigger discussion that can be thought about by scholars and stuff.
It exists.
Here's the thing.
That discussion.
I
hey,
think
let's all pretend we live in a fucking bubble.
I think that if, and trust me, Huckleberry Finn is not fucking Double Date. Trust me on that. Because Huckleberry Finn is a goddamn classic, and Double Date is a fucking, let's boil it down. It's a teenager pulp store fear horror romance. It's pulp. It's shit. So
it's art, somebody's vision, art.
Yeah, but in what way? It's R.L. Stine we're talking about here. So
yeah, just saying.
That's another thing too, is he wrote this stuff in the 90s mostly. He's still writing stuff today. He's still coming up with new stories. The way that people were talking in the 90s, describing people in the 90s are different than the sensibilities of what's commonly quote unquote accepted these days. And the publisher is updating the series time and time again. And in those updates, I suppose what they're doing is making it more consistent with what's going on today.
Sure.
But having said that, like, the author is still here. Like, have him come up with some alternate language, see what he has to say about it. Because this reminds me of like Lizzo changing the words to one of her songs when she found out that the term like spaz out is offensive to certain people. And she made that decision herself with her own art to, be more sensitive to that. And that I fully agree with. But taking R.L. Stine's work, doing that for him, that's just straight up censorship in my mind.
Right.
Okay, I can agree with you on that. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did he use the term woke, or is that the term they used in the article to get people to read it?
Oh, that's
the term that term that the article used for him.
That's the thing, though. Again, so something was said for him again. You know what I mean? Like
yeah. This is a tweet from like the article in the New York Post article that they're talking about is from this outlet called Outkick, who describes himself as your antidote to the mainstream sports media, American flag emoji. So okay. you just know where their intentions are
right off the bat. Right.
Yeah. And they describe it as Goosebumps author is re-editing the books to appease the woke. To which R.L. Stine himself responded in a tweet, "This story is untrue. I have never changed a word in a Goosebumps book." And I haven't looked too much further into what he had to say about it, but he did not use the word woke.
I doubt he did.
Anything.
I have a feeling that R.L. Stine, being someone that writes books for children, likes to see the progress of children and not that we're all still the pieces of shit that he was writing about in the 90s. Because he doesn't, like, even in this character, this guy isn't redeemable, or you don't feel good for him.
Oh,
you know
yeah,
what I mean?
No.
Yeah, he does a good job of making sure that
so.
Yeah, this guy is a dick and he doesn't like those type of people. You know what I mean? Like,
we're not supposed to like this guy.
Yeah, we're not supposed to necessarily like him. And that he does that often when he picks out people, and even has in some Goosebumps books had somebody that seemed scary that was actually helpful. You know what I mean? And so I don't know. I'm all about, if you don't like if Lizzo had decided not to use the term or not to change the word spaz out, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't like that, then you can vote with your dollars on it. But I'm sorry. I don't think that because a certain number of people, because it's never as many as it sounds like today.
Oh, yeah, no.
It's never, today it sounds like half the planet's coming after you about something because of the way it gets thrown out, okay? But it's not. Mm-hmm. It's a few people that, like, zeroed in on that word in the one song, and we're like, and I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, come on.
Right.
If you fall down and scrape your knee, you got to deal with it, right? Some of these things you got to be able to deal with. I'm not saying that people should be allowed to just be considered assholes all the time. No, you got to be able to, suss those people out, and then the group will often not enjoy that. I mean, like, as adults in the right groups, or you get out of that fucking group. You know what I mean? If that group is saying all that, there's plenty of groups in the world to be in, and if the group you're in, you like this person, but they can't stop dropping the N-bomb every day, then, you know, maybe you don't hang around that person anymore. You're probably not going to convince them to stop saying it. So, you know, but I just don't feel like it's right to change. Again, I think that edit of changing it from overweight to huge, that makes no sense to me. That
particular one does not. Yeah.
Yeah. That particular one does not. The roly-poly to cheerful, I get it, but I feel like they're trying to describe, how do you describe people? I don't know how you describe people in a book anymore. Yeah,
there's also a couple of examples that they gave where it's kind of erasing the notion of race. One character who, quote, acts real cool like the rappers on MTV videos, now just acts real cool and is described as having brown skin rather than being African American. Also, mentions of slaves were also removed, as well as blackface worn by a character dressed as a dark and stormy night for Halloween.
If we pretend like it doesn't exist, we'll all be safe. I swear, guys. If we pretend all this stuff never happened, we'll all be safe. Everybody can be safe and they can sit in their house and be like, I'm safe now. So we should get into Fear Street.
All right.
But we do have good news. This won't take near as long.
Yeah, the good news. Yeah, the good news. Yes,
What's
please.
The good news, Josh? Let's lighten it up.
Goosebumps! House of Shivers #1 will launch on September 19th, 2023. It's a whole new Goosebumps series written by R.L. Stine.
Nice.
So,
oh man,
I don't know.
We'll have to read that one. We should read it just because.
I was
going
to say,
is
that something? Can we break our rule?
You know what? Hey,
I'd break a rule for that.
We're looking for something to replace our decide to do what you want to do books, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't maybe we could read a more recent book, like from authors like Colville or Stein. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's an option.
Works for me. Yeah.
And then we could be like, hey, look at how they're writing now compared to how they wrote then.
Yeah.
Fucking R.L. Stein is woke as fuck, dude.
Or not woke as fuck. I don't know.
Woke. Yeah.
He leaves it kind of vague.
He went backwards. So,
anyways, well, I'll look into that a little bit more after we do this episode and see what if R.L. Stine it came out with any other comments about this, because this happened in March that the story was published, so there might be more to the story.
Maybe.
Or that's what he left it at, just right there. And
because he doesn't feel like people need to hear his opinion about everything.
Yeah. Right. That seems the safest thing to do. It's just like, I never changed a word in Goosebumps. Any changes were never shown to me. That's all he really said.
Now I'm going to go eat my bagel.
Now I'm going to accept my money from the reprints. And, I'll start another series.
I'll work on this new Goosebumps.
But yeah. Just weird changes by the publisher. Publishers can be,
publishers.
Anytime you have a corporate mindset, it's not generally good for art.
Sure, and I want to bet that they have some kind of right to do it. You know what I mean, in the contract or whatever. It's not something
very likely. Or or Stein to be taking them to court. I'm sure.
Yeah,
like his hands are probably tied by something he signed.
Yep, exactly.
That the publisher reserves rights to update terminology or something in his stories.
That probably sounds good when they're handing you a big check.
Oh yeah. But is that why he does what he does? I don't know. I don't know his mind.
Neither do I.
Just read a lot of his work. Speaking of his work, why don't we Bob's Your Uncle Fear Street double date?
All right, 20 minutes in, here comes the Bob's Your Uncle. All right, so in this story, we follow a character named Bobby Newkirk. He is a major douche, and it basically starts out with him like holding a girl up against some lockers and kissing on her and touching on her and trying to get her to go out with him simply because she's the only cheerleader that hasn't gone out with him. And she kind of plays it up as like, oh, you're such a bad boy, which is, not a good way to treat a guy like that.
It's a safe thing to do, honestly.
As it goes, we find out that he's rich because he teases one of his friends about working at McDonald's. So, get to work. Oh, you work at McDonald's, you piece of shit. So, the adults do that today.
Yeah. Should have been born rich.
Should have been born rich. So he's trying to hook up with this girl, but then he gets with his bandmates and they're all talking, and he starts talking about how he'd like to date the Wade twins, Bree and Samantha. These two girls are completely different from each other. They look exactly the same, but one is extremely shy and not very social, and the other one is extremely outgoing, arguably wild. And they're the most beautiful girls at the school. So he wants to try and date both of them, which his friend's girlfriend, Melanie, tells him that's not a good idea. You shouldn't do that shit. And he does it anyways. He asks Bree out first to come to a show that they're doing. And then he calls her sister, Samantha, and asks her to hang out the next day. And then somehow, I don't know how he thought that this was working or how they didn't know, but... he starts dating both of them, but convincing both of them that he doesn't like the other one as much, and he's broken it off with her. This goes on for a while until stuff starts happening, like he gets a little prank in his locker, which we'll talk about later. His tire gets slashed. He's trying to figure this out, and he's going in between Bree and Samantha, only to find out that they have a triplet named Genesil. Anyways, it's a weird name. But yeah, so they have this triplet, and they convince him that the way to tell Samantha and Bree apart is that Samantha has a little butterfly tattoo, blue butterfly tattoo on her shoulder. And so this whole thing goes on where the girl he's talking to doesn't have the butterfly tattoo, but says that she's Samantha, but then he'll be talking to the other one, and none of them seem to remember this butterfly tattoo, but then they say, oh, you can tell the third one by the butterfly tattoo, and it's just crazy that he's definitely getting fucked around at some point. And he eventually gets talked into going up to a cabin by Samantha, and she says that they got to kill Bree because Bree's a problem. She's going to do something to them. So he agrees to this plan and ends up going up there, and he gets captured by who he believes is the third sister. And then he escapes from that, gets back, and it all ends up turning out that they knew the whole fucking time, of course. And he's an asshole, and I don't think he learned any lessons. But they definitely got to have a good time, and it was enjoyable to listen to the torture he went through throughout the book. But yeah, there ended up being no triplet, no tattoo. One of the girls at the end hands him a fake tattoo that they were obviously both putting on at different times, which is a really good fake tattoo because all the ones I've ever seen just kind of wash off with water. But yeah, he gets his little, oh, they don't like him anymore and people are not talking to him and stuff. But that's not going to last long because he'll get out of high school and daddy will hire him at the factory. And next thing you know, he'll be running for president. Bob's your uncle. That's double date.
There it is.
I was forgetting the Bob's your uncle part. I'm like, why aren't we moving on? I was
just gonna button my lip until you remembered.
Yeah, Bob's your uncle. Like, I'll add this other part to it.
Jenny Lynn.
But yeah,
that's
Jenny
hard
Lynn.
to
Jenny Lynn.
Vagisil.
It was hard to. Yeah, Genesil, Geneville. Yeah, it was hard.
Genevieve.
To remember.
Jenny Lynn.
Oh my God! Is it one of those names with the Lynn at the end? Maybe. Oh God.
That's how you know she's crazy.
Oh, one of the few Ted jokes I remember.
So yeah, it's all just an elaborate, very dangerous prank that they're pulling on him.
It's an elaborate ruse.
Elaborate ruse, complete with slashed tires and electrocution and...
Oh, the electrocution, yeah.
I mean, he deserved more than this, but yeah.
I mean, the guy's a rapist.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Clearly, that's where his...
First scene is sexual assault.
Yeah.
If left unchecked, he is going to... he's going to roofie a non-zero number of drinks in his lifetime.
Yeah, they should have just named him Brock Turner. Would have made more sense. But
Brock Turner wasn't Brock Turner yet.
That's true.
This book was published in 1994. He was just being
inspired by the story. I could do that.
Where are these fucking edits at?
Yeah, where's these edits?
Yeah, where are these edits at?
Change Bobby Newkirk's name to Brock Turner. There you go.
Brock Turner. I have a little meme I save on my phone, and every 6 or 8 months I like to share it on Reddit and stuff. And it says, just a reminder that this kid raped a girl behind a dumpster and got 6 months probation.
It's really sad, but this kind of behavior goes unchecked and just allowed
depending
to
on
happen.
who you are.
Yeah, it's sad depending on who you are.
Whether or not you have a future because your parents have money.
Oh yeah,
but yeah.
Or you are going into a career that that society values, like professional athlete or rock star, I guess.
Or politician.
Is what Bobby thought he was going to be.
Actor, politician, priest.
So it's kind of a departure for a character such as this, but he's not an athlete. He is in a stupid little band with 2 of his friends. One's a ginger and one of them's black.
And they come up with the worst names of all time.
And they come up with the worst band names of all time. And I know he's black because surprisingly, for the time, R.L. Stine described him as having dark skin. So I don't know if this is not an edited version of this book. It doesn't show that it was that it's like a 2023 version of it or whatever. But yeah. Anyways, their band is called. Well, it changes. It was at one point like the Cool Guys.
Bad to the Bone at one point.
Bad to the Bone. And then they decide that they're going to change it to, I'm going to try to find it here. Something stupid. I don't know. The Desperados. The Desperados is what it was.
Yeah.
And it's funny because they play like 1950s music.
I swear, like, R.L. Stine can't really write teenagers. He thinks they all talk like 50s greasers. So you got Bobby like strutting around the room going, I'm cool. I'm Bobby the man. I'm Bobby the man. Oh, yeah.
But was that something in 94? Like, was that...
I doubt it.
Because I remember loving oldies when I was a
really
kid.
Talked like that
in the 90s, which would have been about the time that they're playing these songs.
I feel like teenagers in the 90s would have been listening to Nirvana and Metallica.
Right.
And...
Was the popular boy in school like doing Chuck Berry riffs on his guitar?
Yeah.
Or is Tommy the name of a band? I didn't look that up, but they kept referencing like...
I think they played songs. I think they played songs from Tommy, and that's what it was.
Yeah, but it kept referencing like really old rock and roll bands.
I mean, they did a reference to Who's on First, and that bit's been around since the 20s. So
yeah, that's
there are a lot of dated references. Let's sum this all up.
Oh, for sure.
There's a ton of dated references. There's monkeys. Their names are Wayne and Garth. And
so that's a contemporary reference for the time.
Yeah, for the time, but now it's very outdated. And even then,
anything related to music,
yeah,
just Arrested Development in the 50s and 60s.
This whole book was just like a weird time capsule because like the mall is popular, which is strange to me.
I went to the Bay City Mall recently to go see a movie, and I was like, oh, well, we're waiting for the movie. It's 6:30. Why don't we run down to GameStop? 6:30 on a Monday. We get down to fucking GameStop. They're closed already.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Like for the day or just shut down?
They were closed up. No, I mean, they were there. They were closed for the day.
Oh, they closed at like 6?
6 on a Monday, I guess.
On a Monday?
Yeah.
Huh.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, I can't believe they're not open till like at least 8, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I would think the people with money that are going to buy your games aren't even getting out of work until fucking 5 o'clock, you know? So.
Right. Well, then they just go home and download it digitally or.
That's the thing. Yeah.
That's what GameStop is up against.
I wasn't even going in there to buy anything. I was just going in there to look because I never buy anything at GameStop because I'd rather just, I don't even purchase physical copies of games anymore.
Too much hassle.
Well, you can lose them. They can break. They get scratched, you know.
Mm-hmm. And they never go as cheap as digital.
No.
Because they always have really good deals eventually on any big digital video game.
Yeah, I got
you wait.
Far Cry 6.
So it's become like not worth it to get it physical anymore for the recent stuff anyways.
Yeah, I got Far Cry 6 for like, I think 80% off like 3 months after the game came out. So it's just like, oh, $20 for this game? Yes, I will buy it because I know I'm going to love it.
Yep.
And then I played through it twice. So yeah.
But yeah, so malls are popular in this book.
Yes,
malls are popular. They are still a thing back in 1994.
Pump Up the Jam was still in our collective consciousness. It's one of the greatest Euro techno songs of all time.
Pump Up the Jam.
Oh, Pump Up the Jam by Technotronics.
I have it on a playlist at work, and when it comes on, I laugh my ass off.
Well, yeah, it's because it's great. Yeah.
Great running joke. They even mentioned Walden Books.
Yeah!
Like one of the stories.
I was like, yeah, Walden Books. I know what that's
Walden
about.
Books.
Reminds me of playing Skate or Die 2. That was one of the missions. But moving on. So yes, he's trying to date these twins. Bree is very subdued. She's quiet. And her sister, Samantha, is more outgoing, free-spirited. She drives crazy. Turns out she doesn't have a license. She likes to shoplift, which is... So she's a klepto.
She shoplifts for the kicks. She drives like a maniac, and she doesn't have a license.
Yeah, she was pretty crazy. That's a girl I wouldn't have hung around too long. The moment she stole the earrings, I'd have been like, hey, you're supposed to give those back. And I'd have been following her, hey, you can't steal that. Like, she stole earrings.
Stop.
She stole earrings. That's her.
I don't know her. She stole them. I'm not gonna get in trouble.
That would tarnish his image as the bad boy of school.
Right. For him it would, but man, he was, yeah.
Did it worry or concern or maybe even thrill you that like with every step of the way, with all the progress he was making in dating the twins, like Bobby's first thought was that, oh, I gotta tell Arnie about this. Arnie's gonna be so excited to hear about this. I can't wait to tell Arnie. His best friend Arnie was just forefront of his mind every step of the way.
Well, I think it's the idea of being able... I've had friends that just want to tell me every little detail of their sexual conquests. And I tend to find that conversation not necessarily uncomfortable, but unless you're saying something just cheeky, it's like, I don't want to hear about how you slowly stroked anything, dude. Don't tell me the whole fucking story. Hey, this happened. Cool, bro. Thumbs up. That's good enough, right?
Good for you.
Good for you. Like a cheeky little joke or making a reference, that's one thing, but to straight up tell me the whole story, and that's what I feel like Bobby is.
Hey,
Bobby wants to go tell every detail.
You want to lick a girl's poop hole? That's your business, man.
And I think Arnie is like his only friend because they don't talk about anybody else, and so he's just kind of full of himself and I think Arnie's the only person that will hang around him at this point because
he's definitely got hero worship going on.
Yeah, he's just an asshole. So yeah, nobody likes him except for Arnie. Even his other bandmate doesn't really like him. He just wants to play music, and that's
the one who works at McDonald's.
So
yeah, that whole McDonald's bullshit. Like, fuck you, bro. Like, people gotta have a job. It sounds like he's fucking badass compared to you. He's out there getting stuff done. Fucking prick. Yeah, I didn't like Bobby at all.
Yeah, I don't think any of us like Bobby.
I was actually kind of hoping he was actually going to die in this one. That was going to be the...
Yeah, I was hoping that, like, the ants... They called them cannibal ants, but apparently that wasn't a thing.
Well, if they were cannibal ants, wouldn't they eat other ants? Because that's what a cannibal is.
Right, like you eat
so if they were your own species. Human eating ants, that scary. Cannibal ants, I'm like, oh, they just eat other ants. So it's not that scary.
Right, and you could use like there's fire ants from...
Yeah, there's
a lot of ants you could use.
Ants that hurt the fuck out of you when they bite you.
Yeah.
They could have used any of those, but no, they just used like regular red ants.
It was an odd choice.
Now, it doesn't seem like cannibal ants are like a species of ant, but there are news stories of cannibal ants who like survived in a Soviet nuclear bunker. That they like survived by eating their dead, apparently.
Makes sense. Hey, what did the
not necessarily a thing.
What did the Pink Panther do when he stepped on some ants? He said, "Dead ant, dead ant, dead ant, dead ant, dead ant." Hey, just because I'm not a dad doesn't mean I don't have dad jokes.
Dead ant, dead ant, dead ant, dead ant, dead ant.
I can't remember the actual joke. I think it was, what did the Pink Panther say, which was part of the joke because he didn't say anything ever when he stepped on some ants.
Pink Panther doesn't talk.
He doesn't.
By the way, we jumped all the way to the end with the cannibal.
That's because
ants
there's nothing in this book.
There's
but there
things
were a
in the
lot
book.
of words. There were a lot of words. There were a lot of pages. You know what I mean?
No, there's stuff in this book. There's a lot of instances of like describing what the girls are wearing. Oddly enough,
Yeah,
like I glossed over it when it happened, but it happened quite a lot to the point where Bobby recognized one of them by the clothes she was wearing. Like it was like a pink tank top or blah, 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 like white shorts or something. I don't know, but he was very careful to say what each girl was wearing. Like basically anytime they came into a scene.
And I wonder if that's he's trying to say that these girls are different in even their style, because it did seem.
Yeah, I think that's what it was there for.
Yeah.
But, you know, being an ignorant man-child, I just kind of glossed over it as filler.
Yeah. There was a little bit of just psychological back and forth, but until they bring in the third sister, that's when the story starts actually getting going. And that's when I started getting slightly confused, because there was another third character that looks like the other two characters. And I'm just like, what?
Right.
And find out that this third sister, Jenny Lynn, has a tattoo, and she's pretending to be Samantha. So maybe she's the crazy one. And then it turns out there is no Jenny Lynn. It was just to fuck with Bobby, which, you know, great. I'm glad that they did that.
Right.
Speaking of tattoos, the cover of my book says that there's temporary tattoos inside, but mine are gone. I bought mine from thrift books, obviously, and unfortunately didn't get the temporary tattoo, so I don't know if it was of a butterfly or not or whatever, but
yeah,
I thought that was kind of a neat detail to throw in there, and it only really registered why there was temporary tattoos in this book in particular. I knew that's a thing that a lot of books did when they were marketed to kids, young people, whatever, in the 90s. Say, hey, there's free temporary tattoos. But for this book, it really makes sense to throw that in there.
And it really doesn't give away the ending or anything. So,
although looking back on it, it should.
It really should.
Hey, Andy, if you want one with the free tattoos, it's $99 on eBay.
Oh shit.
So,
is there a picture of the tattoos?
Okay, so it looks like there's two blue butterflies, there's two orange butterflies, and then there are 4 Fear Street tattoos.
Oh, okay.
There's a picture of it on eBay.
So if you think the reason it might not give it away is because, okay, there's a temporary tattoo, it's a butterfly, there's a butterfly tattoo in the book, so you don't necessarily think of that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Plus, we don't...
But then again...
Yeah,
go ahead.
We don't find out who's wearing it until the end, so...
Yeah.
Right.
I was going to say, then again, you see these butterfly tattoos given away in the book, and then it turns out that a character in the story has a butterfly tattoo, and that can either throw you off the scent or lead you to the conclusion that it's a temporary tattoo this girl's wearing.
And there were probably some people who were like, oh shit, I bet you it's a temporary tattoo.
Not to mention, how old are these people? Probably around 16? You have to be 18 to get a tattoo in most states.
You say that like you've never known anybody who was 16 with a tattoo.
Oh, I've known lots of people that were 16 with tattoos. I'm from Huron County. So, that's just a rite of passage at certain points.
Sure.
But,
well, we do hear from the girl's father at the very end, and he's like, tattoo? They better not have a tattoo.
Which makes
sense. As
As
though it's a terrible thing to do.
Harold and I have the exact same tattoo.
It's definitely something that you should wait on making the choice for. I know a lot of people with tattoos from when they were 18 years old who actually have covered them up with other tattoos at this point.
Yeah, it's beyond me why anybody would put a tattoo of their significant other's at the time's name.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's real dumb.
That's yeah.
Yeah, all my tattoos are pretty personal. I I have my Kelvin and Hobbes one for personal reasons. I have my Michigan one because that's where I'm from, obviously. Then I have my fun chocolate milk friends tattoo that Harold and I have. That Andy, we will convince you to get at some point.
People ask me about mine all the time. They're like, "What's that about? What's that mean?" Because they think it's a Captain America, but then they see the smiley face, so they're like, "Well, what the fuck?"
Yeah,
maybe that's why I don't get it, because I don't want to be approached about it. I don't want people bugging me, having me explain what the tattoo means.
I don't want to have to tell people about my podcast that we're trying to make popular and stuff. God forbid I tell people about that.
It's
Andy.
never random people. It's people I work with and stuff like that that'll end up asking me after they know me for a minute.
I got to tell many people. I went to Los Angeles this past week for some fun, and I had multiple people ask me about my tattoo, and so I got to tell them about our podcast. So, I remember Catherine, if from Bloodsoes, food was good. Thanks for listening. There's your shout out that I said I would give you.
Oh, yay.
So yes, and yeah, if you were one of the people I talked to in LA, I had a great time. Thanks for being super nice. Everybody was super nice and wonderful. So, but getting back to the book.
You know who's not nice and wonderful?
Bobby Newkirk. What
Bobby.
a dick.
He's a dick.
Douche canoe.
For sure. I actually saw that description, douche canoe, in someone else's review of the book.
Yep.
Like,
Nice.
I'm like, hey, it's getting out there. Good.
Yep.
But ours was
Everybody
canoe, which was a little different. But
Oh,
The
yeah.
Coo Canoe. Oh, yeah.
The old coo canoe. But yeah, so where were we in the book at this point?
we're jumping around this time because
We've gone off some
there's
tangents.
there's just not
Yeah.
a lot of
We started cherry picking bits and pieces.
because this book, again, there's
It's a lot of happenings.
Yeah, it's a lot of just they drive here, they go here, they go. Bobby goes here and tells Arnie about this, and the girls are wearing this. At some point, we find out that Bobby has monkeys. How the fuck did he get monkeys?
Yep. His uncle gave him monkeys for his science project, and that's how she has the cannibal ants project too, which is crazy. I'm like, man, these kids, like, where are they getting these? What kind of science project is this? I remember making a volcano. And yeah. And I also remember making jaguars out of milk cartons, like it's.
I remember making
these guys doing
making a topographical map in 4th grade using, I think, salt.
Yeah, these kids have some crazy projects. But
did Bobby ever say what he was using the monkeys for?
So
diet.
He's feeding one
diet.
like a normal monkey diet, and he's feeding the other one just bananas, which would never fly ever because it's not. Bananas don't have the nutrition needed to keep animals alive. But I guess
really unethical study.
I guess the
poor
connection
Garth
is that
there is gonna get real lethargic pretty soon.
Yeah, his uncle is in another book, which is then talked about in the Blob Goosebumps book. So that's kind of how it's connected. I read it when I was doing research. They're like, yeah, so his uncle is this person who is in this book, who is in the Blob books from Goosebumps. I was like, okay,
interesting, some connective tissue after all.
So like, yeah, his uncle is the scientist who comes up with the Blob from whatever, I can't remember the name of the Blob book.
Dr. Newkirk.
Interesting.
So
if it's his paternal uncle.
It was interesting how they were tricking him with the third sister and everything, and Melanie was in on it. He kept saying that Melanie wanted to date him, and that's why she was always messing with him, but he wasn't going to date her unless she got less huge.
No, they did date for a brief
3 months.
time.
It was his longest stint.
Yeah, well, that's what
she was his longest relationship, and then he was seeing other girls behind her back, so she left him for Arnie.
Yep, and he thinks that she wants him back, though.
Yeah, but he won't take her back because she's put on a few pounds.
She's huge.
She's huge, apparently.
She's apparently huge. No, so that whole thing was, I mean, she had plenty of reason to be wanting to be in on it too. Like, she was in on it with the girls. Like, fuck yeah.
I think the cheerleaders were there too at the very end, right?
Yep. Basically everybody knew,
basically all the girls in school were there celebrating the fact that like he almost died 2 or 3 times.
Yep.
Like they could have killed him with that electrocution stunt, or like even the honey. Like if you like suffocated on the honey. Like, it was running down his face.
Right.
I was worried about his breathing.
Have you ever eaten honey?
I've eaten honey. Yeah.
I mean,
have you ever snorted honey?
No, but if you dump honey on my face, I imagine I could lick it out of my mouth or breathe through my mouth.
Oh, that's no.
If it gets in your nose, covers your nose and mouth, and you're panicking, who knows what could happen? And he was panicking.
Again, I'm going to ask you, if the honey covers your nose and mouth, I didn't figure they put that much honey on him. They couldn't have, because the ants are going to need to eat him. How would the ants ever get to him? They'd be eating that honey for so long, they ended up fat. I guess they weren't
really supposed to eat him. Like, they were just supposed to bite him and scare him or whatever.
I took it as he was convinced they were going to eat him.
He was thinking that they were going to eat him, which is part of the panic.
Right. Of course, we find out later that the girls already knew that wasn't going to happen.
Right. But cannibal ants aren't actually a thing.
Yeah. But he definitely thought, or at least it was a possibility. Man-eating ants.
Well, I guess ants who would eat a person, probably a thing, right?
Oh, for sure they are.
Oh, yeah.
No,
like, there's swarms of ants.
If you had
I don't know if these were that kind of ants or not.
There are some ants in South America that have huge fucking colonies, and if you were to like get caught up when they're like moving along, they wouldn't probably like eat you really fast, but if they stung you enough times to the point where you couldn't move, or you were like in so much pain that they would eventually eat you, I imagine. I can't imagine they wouldn't.
And we've all seen Indiana Jones and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, right?
Yeah,
that documentary.
Real. That documentary was true.
With the man-eating ants and the aliens.
Absolutely.
And the fridge that can preserve a human from dying in a nuclear explosion.
Dude, they don't make stuff like that anymore.
They certainly don't make refrigerators like that anymore.
Yep.
I'm just gonna pretend that one didn't exist, and I'm really hoping the next one's really good, because I've heard good things.
The trailer looks fucking balls out awesome. Like, I was like, it doesn't look like so it looks like they tried to play it more towards looking like practical effects as opposed to the fucking all the CGI they had in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Okay.
Dude, like, there was a scene where they're going down an alleyway in like the Middle East somewhere, and there's these two cars, and fucking Indiana Jones does the classic fucking jump from one car to the other, punch the dude in the face. And I was like, yes, dude. Because that's what you expect from him, to fucking be like, all right, let's go.
As long as that dude that he punches is a Nazi, I'm on board. Because, yeah, he needs to punch Nazis.
There's plenty of punchable people in the world besides Nazis.
He's punched a lot of Nazis.
Like Bobby Newkirk is a punchable person.
Yeah, Bobby Newkirk is punchable.
Who we thought was going to die, but he didn't. It was all just an innocent prank.
Just an elaborate ruse. Also,
well, it's almost better that he didn't, because now he's got to live with that, and he's actually got to like experience it and try to rectify like maybe what part he played in causing other people, a group of other people, to target him, and all people that he's wronged in some way or another. Maybe he has to think about that now.
Yeah, I would have seen the follow up to this.
Yeah.
Did they ever explain whose cabin it was? Because it wasn't the twins' cabin. Or did they just literally...
Their dad's like, what cabin? We don't have a cabin.
A cabin for their...
Some stranger's cabin.
Yeah. Samantha stole earrings earlier on. I don't think they were above using someone else's...
Breaking and entering.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Add to all of that, like... Samantha, which I think it was probably Samantha, but she knocked him out with an empty Coke bottle to tie him up to the chair to pour the honey and ants on him.
Yeah, that's pretty fucked.
She assaulted him. I mean, he assaulted someone earlier.
Physical assault.
Yeah, she physically assaulted him.
With a blunt weapon.
There are a lot of crimes in this book.
There were a lot
committed
of
by juveniles. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, they go from misdemeanors like slashing his tires to full-on assault with a potentially deadly weapon.
Right. Well, let's not forget, he started the book pressing some girl against lockers and kissing her, even though she was kind of like trying to push him off. Non-consensual approaches. Yeah.
Yeah, to a girl who looked 12.
Just because she was the last cheerleader on the squad he hadn't been with.
And now, is the B story that he's actually fucking all these girls? Because they're at that age where that's probably what's going on?
I think the B story is he's into Arnie.
Yeah, I think so too.
He's doing it all for Arnie's approval. He just wants Arnie to notice him. He really enjoys the fact that he hero worships him.
He lives in a world where he's supposed to go after girls, so he's trying as hard as he can to go after any girl, but the reason he can never hang on to a relationship with one is because he doesn't actually like girls.
Yeah, he's just trying to make his man happy.
And that's why he only makes out with them. He's still a virgin, and he's never actually had sex. He just makes out with them.
They just go to make out point, like in the 50s, like teenagers did in the 90s, apparently.
But that's not necessarily it. But at that time, it would have been. He's way into Arnie. He seems into Arnie, and I feel bad for the kid.
Wait, how old was R.L. Stine in the 90s? Like, when was he born again, or born the first time? I don't know if he's born again.
Yeah, I have no idea. Let's see.
Real binging it.
Binging it.
1943.
I don't want a birth chart. Birth year, 1943. So in 94, he's 51 years old, writing to his best ability the activities of teenagers who apparently are in rock bands and
they go down
Chuck Berry music.
We got to get ready for our gig at the Soda Jerk. We're going.
The Soda Jerk.
He was 17 in 1960. He was 17 in 1960.
That makes a lot of sense.
That was his prime. That's where all the kids are going to the sock hop and bopping out to the rock and roll.
I'm gonna go get my best girl a malt.
I'm Bobby the Man. I'm the man.
So that's the story. Basically, he's an asshole, and he gets a little bit of comeuppance, and that's the story.
It really is. Oh, the consequences of your actions.
Yeah. Now, at any point were you guys scared, or are you thinking, "Oh, this is a psychological thriller," or were you just confused along with Bobby, and it was hard to keep up?
I was trying. So I listened to this. I got the Hoopla version, so I had the audiobook, and I listened to it when I was driving back from Sacramento. And I was just like, when's something going to happen? And then things happened, and I was like, wait, what? There's another character? And then, I got confused, and I had to re-listen to it. And then I was like, oh, this is just not a good book. That's why. It has something that I'm not allowed to say on this podcast anymore. So, I would not recommend it. I did not like it. I didn't think it was that good. I wish Bobby would have got more I wish it would have been more torture, more psychological torture. It would have been more interesting. Making him go crazy, because they don't. And
I think it could have got.
In the end, it was just physical pain. He was a little confused, but I don't know. I didn't like it.
I would say I didn't really like it that much. I probably wouldn't read it again, obviously. But I don't know. As far as, I think it would have been a lot scarier if maybe the police had arrested them when they stole the earrings, and then maybe they had to go to the jail system for a second. But maybe Bobby ended up in juvenile hall. That would be a scary story. And they could talk about the kids in juvie that are actual bad kids, and he's like, oh my god, and he's getting beat up, That would have been scary. But everything else that happened was and
then the next chapter
crime.
Is 6 months later after he served his time.
But everything else is a crime. Everything they did is a crime. So no one's a hero in this story, really.
Hell, they could have added another character in as the cop, the mall cop that catches him. It's a young Paul Blart.
It's true. Oh yeah, it turns out he's just hey, your kids shouldn't be running. It's not safe, when they were clearly running with stolen goods.
Yeah.
Teenagers, they're running in a mall. It's a boy and a girl. Yeah, they're up to no good. They're not just running in the mall. They're not 6 years old.
Yeah. Plus, that's
wild energy.
That gives it away. When you shoplift, you walk away casually. You can't act like you did anything. Idiots.
Yep. But he's treating them like they're kids with the zoomies. You just slow down now. It's not safe to be running around the mall. Could run into people. Okay. Yeah, no, arrest their asses. They're up to no good.
So what about you, Andy? What are your thoughts? Final thoughts on this book?
I thought that the Fear Street reputation would have allowed for something a little bit more, I don't know about gruesome, but, a little more on the horror side of things. it's definitely kind of the same formula as Goosebumps, where you have like your fake outs and things turn out to be not as dangerous as originally thought by the main character. It just didn't go to like the real dark places that older kids could probably handle, or that I thought it was going to go into. But yeah, not too fun. Just kind of ended little weirdly. I'm concerned about the lengths that the girls were willing to go to, even though the guy is a douche. Do you really slash his tires and electrocute him and do all that stuff to him? I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. I'd give it a 5 out of 10 as far as quality of story. Middle of the road.
Yeah, to piggyback off of the cliffhanger thing, there's not a lot of chapters with cliffhangers. The only one is the weird monkey head one, where he thinks somebody killed one of the monkeys and put his head in the locker. Oh, yeah. And then it turns out...
I remember thinking I wanted that to be real.
Me too! And then it was fake, and I was like...
Yeah, I like, okay, all right, here we go. Now we're getting pretty macabre. All right, dead monkey head. But no, it was a plastic monkey head covered in, I don't know, was it fake blood or...
It was probably ketchup or some shit.
At least they didn't actually kill the monkey, because that's another crime.
That's another whole
thing. I would want to see.
That would be a whole nother charge to add to the rap sheet.
Yeah. I'd want to see some comeuppance for them at that point. Okay,
yeah, everybody deserves comeuppance in this story.
Yep.
Everyone in this story was a shit, so... Including
the author.
Absolutely.
God damn it. I want to go a darker place, Stein.
Yeah, because now kids read like Hunger Games, where children die.
Right? Kids are actually killing each other.
What we need to do is find a Fear Street where someone dies.
What if someone's already dead? Because I think that's the premise of the very first Fear Street, is like he starts dating a ghost.
Now we need to see like somebody, what it's like when somebody is killed in one of these books. Like how is it described? How gory is it? How scary? How damaging to the psyche is it?
Yeah, we can look up scariest Fear Street books, or we could do the series that they did on Netflix, and then we can review the movies as well as the books. That could be a thing.
Yeah, down the road. But I think next chapter we're gonna go back to Goosebumps because we gotta rate some more of them.
Hell yeah! But anyway, so yeah, that was our sum up and reviews. So yeah, this is where Andy usually does the ending, so I don't have to.
And now I award you each with 4 AR points.
Yeah!
For doing such a good job.
So much closer to that pan pizza.
Did you get personal pan pizzas for AR? Because I know that was a Book It thing.
It was for Book It, but you were like, I'm going to do an AR. And I'm like, I'm going to keep saying Book It because I fucking love Book It. And they still do stuff. They still are out there giving kids free pizza for reading.
Accelerator Reader is still a thing, and so is Book It. Yep.
Awesome.
I tried to get Xander to sign up for the Book It thing, but he's not much of a reader.
What about just, stealing his personal identity for free pizza? You could sign him up.
Pizza Hut will find out.
Pizza Hut will find you.
Yum Brands has ears everywhere.
Big pizza.
The big cheese will know. So yeah, that's this episode of Reliterated. Come and join us next episode where we're going to go back to another old friend, another class act, Roald Dahl and Matilda.
Yeah,
I'm excited for Matilda.
I'm excited too. I remember it being a very good story.
I think I remember the movie.
Yeah, I've only ever seen the movie.
You've only ever seen the movie?
Yep, never read the book.
Well, I think we're all in for a good episode next time. So join us then. And until then, support your local libraries and independent booksellers. Give a shit. Read some lit.
Bob's your uncle. That's Reliterated.
Thanks, everybody.
Reliterated's awesome, man.
Yeah.
We love you still, man. Okay.
Give a shit and read some lit, you stupid fox.
This has been Reliterated, a production of the Chocolate Milk Friends. If you enjoy our show, please consider giving us support by subscribing, recommending us to your book reading, podcast listening, 90s nostalgic friends, and most importantly, rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts, Audible Podcasts, and Spotify. Your ratings and reviews go a long way towards getting us in the ears of new listeners. You're also invited to join the growing Reliterated community on Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. And if you really want to get nuts, we have a Discord too. So Bing us and join us in this nonsense. If you have a book suggestion for a future episode or have questions for us, send us an email at reliterated@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.